Welcome to First Parish in Needham, a Unitarian Universalist congregation of humanists, theists, atheists, agnostics, seekers, and interfaith families. I'm Dara Bryans. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the ministerial intern here at First Parish. You can learn more about what's happening at First Parish by going to our website, uuneedham.org, and signing up for our weekly email newsletter, or by following us on social media. Our order of service is online, too, at the QR code that's in the pews and at our website, uuneedham.updates.church. Please speak with our ushers and greeters and Zoom hosts if you have any questions about accessibility needs. At First Parish, we covenant to live out our shared values of the inherent worth and dignity of every person, respecting the earth and co-creating beloved community. Whoever you are, whoever you love, whatever your background or identity, whatever your age or stage, whether you walked or rolled in, and wherever you're participating from, you are welcome here. So I need to give y'all a bit of a warning this morning. This service is not going to be normal at all. We have moved things around, we were shaking things up, and you're going to notice that we're going to have some body movement parts where you're going to have to get up and go do some spiritual practice activities. We're really excited, and if you're joining us online, we have activities for our Zoom room. So if you are watching on YouTube, you might consider logging into the Zoom room so you can participate in that part of our service. So welcome again, everyone who's here in the building and online. We're so glad you're here. Now, here's the first hint that things aren't normal. We're going to do announcements right now and get them out of the way. So, as I said, we're engaging in spiritual practices during the service. Just a reminder, log into Zoom if you want to participate. And after the service, if you're with us in the building, we're having a special social hour where hopefully some of you, I know I did, dropped off one of my fall favorite treats. So we've got all kinds of great things for social hour. This Wednesday, there is UU worship at North Hills, so please join us if you're a resident there. Vespers are restarting this week. So excited. Thursday afternoon, starting at 5:30. And then we have all of our regular, usual weekly events. So there's Fleet Feet on Wednesdays, Writing Escapes and Meditation Ministries on Thursdays, and Creative Escapes on Fridays. Please join us.
As we light our chalice, symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith, we read words from Euro-American Buddhist priest and UU minister, Reverend Florence Kaplow. We kindle this flame, honoring the doorways in our souls, the windows through which we gaze at one another, the balconies where we catch glimpses of sky, the thresholds we stand on this morning, wondering, hoping, fearing, dreaming. Our opening hymn, Gathered Here, was written by United Church of Christ Administrator Phil Porter, who has served as a leader of their Open and Affirming movement, the UCC version of our welcoming congregations. Please rise in body or in spirit and join in singing Gathered Here twice through. The lyrics are in your orders of service on screen and at number 389 in your gray hymnals.
Spirit It is my honor and privilege to lead you in the covenant on the 10th anniversary of the agreement with the community to take this covenant as part of the church. So if we could read it together. We gather as a loving community to encourage and comfort one another. We gather as a diverse community to support each other in a search for spiritual truth. We gather as a community to live our beliefs through action and care for our world.
This congregation has been supported by the volunteered time and treasure of its members and friends since its founding in 1711. This is the time in our service when we, the modern stewards of this church, offer what we can to build and sustain the congregation and the world we envision. This month, our collection will be split 50-50 with the Metro West Worker Center. The Metro West Worker Center is immigrant worker-led and organizes to defend and expand the labor, civil, and human rights of all workers in Greater Boston. Based out of Framingham, the center serves a multilingual and multiracial worker community and partners with non-immigrant allies and professionals to fight unjust laws and practices, such as wage theft and injured workers' compensation, and to dismantle racism and xenophobia in the Boston area. During the pandemic, the Metro West Worker Center created the Canasta Solidaria, Solidarity Basket program, to give groceries and grocery gift cards to struggling immigrant families in Framingham and Milford. To donate today to today's offering, you can use one of the 3 different methods as outlined in detail in your orders of service. You can use text to give, donate through our website, drop a check or cash in the offering plate, or mail a check to First Parish in Needham. Whichever way you donate, please remember to specify whether your gift is for your annual pledge or for this collection. And if this is one of your first visits to First Parish, we encourage you to fill out a yellow card found hopefully in the seat backs of your pews, and you can just drop it in the collection plate. And many thanks to Rin Racklis for the beautiful flowers given in honor of her husband David Moore and son Daniel Moore, both who celebrate birthdays this month. May radiant love shine upon them always. Thank you for everything you are able to give to help support and sustain this congregation and the vital work of our community partners. May the ushers please come forward.
Thank you so much, First Parish players, and earlier to our song squad. What a delightful pairing. Though we are not sharing candles of joys and concerns this morning as part of our multi-generational service, as we typically do, the staff team did want to light one candle of sorrow for the people of Lewiston, Maine, who were traumatized by gun violence this past week. As Unitarian Universalists, our faith calls us to condemn violence and advocate for sensible solutions to our ongoing and uniquely American problems with gun violence. May those impacted by this latest tragedy receive comfort. Our prayer this morning was written by Jewish American UU minister, Reverend Deborah Hafner. She said of this prayer that it was inspired by the words of 14th century German Catholic theologian and mystic Meister Eckhart. If the only prayer you ever say in your entire life is thank you, it will be enough, he wrote. Typically during a pastoral prayer or meditation, we ask you to become comfortable and quiet in your bodies, minds, and spirits. But today we invite all of you to participate in this prayer responsively, whispering, shouting, and then saying, thank you, when prompted. So please, as you're willing and able, be ready to speak. Spirit of life and love, may we whisper thank you for all that is good in our lives. Thank you. May we shout thank you for the abundance of blessings. Thank you. Well done. May we feel thank you, thank you, thank you deep within our hearts and around us right now. May we be thankful down to our bones for this time together. May we take the time to feed each other, take care of each other, appreciate and trust each other, and to say thank you. Perhaps it is the only prayer we'll ever need. Amen. Please remain seated and join in singing our meditative response, Return Again. The lyrics are in your orders of service, on screen, and in your teal hymnals.
Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are, born and reborn again. Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are, born and reborn.
Good morning. It is so nice to see all of you. I have been running around a little bit, so excuse me for being warm. We have a really exciting Sunday planned. But first, for our reading today, we are going to be reading a book called An Ofrenda for Pero. And this is by the author Judith Valdez B. and is illustrated by Carlos Velez Aguilera. Before we get into this story, I want to acknowledge something pretty cool. This story is about Dia de los Muertos, and it focuses on a love a boy has for his dog. But it's not just this boy that has a love for his dog. Dogs actually hold a very special place in Dia de los Muertos. It's often believed that dogs actually lead people to the spirit realm along paths of marigolds. In many places, there's actually a use on October 27th that is specifically a Day of the Dead day just for dogs. Many people expanded it to other pets, but it's a time that you honor the loved one in your life that is a little furry and a little slobbery. So with that spirit, let us read An Ofrenda for Pero. The only life Benito knew was one with Pero by his side. Pero followed Benito everywhere. Together they played fetch, hiked, caught crickets, and stargazed. Sniffing around Mama's marigolds was Pero's favorite thing to do. And Pero was always there to comfort Benito when he was feeling sad. One day, Benito asked Pero, "Want to go for a walk?" Pero wagged his tail. His toenails clicked on the floor. Pero's spirit was young and excited, but his legs, not so much. Pero stumbled and couldn't get up, so Papa took him to the vet. That night, Papa returned, but Pero did not. Benito cried and cried. Pero lives in our memories, Mama whispered. He's still with us. Benito didn't understand. But Pero is gone, he sobbed. Benito could barely leave his room the next few days. He missed his cuddly, furry friend who snoring lullabied him to sleep. He even missed the musky, wet dog smell Pero had after a hike in the rain and the slobbery balls Pero would drop at his feet. One morning, Mama called out, "Mijo, help me collect flowers for our Dia de los Muertos altar." "I don't feel like doing anything." "It'll do you good," Mama urged. "Why do we put marigolds on the ofrenda?" Benito asked. "They symbolize life," said Mama. "They're colorful, yet fragile." Benito smelled them and remembered how much Pero had loved sniffing them. He dropped the basket and bawled, "Without my friend, nothing is the same." Later that day, Papa insisted, "Let's go to Doña Toña's tienda." "Papa, I don't understand why we celebrate the dead," Benito muttered. "We don't celebrate the dead," Papa replied, "but with the love we have for them. Even when Pero isn't here, I still love him," Benito choked up. "Papa, why do we put candles on the Day of the Dead altar?" "The candle's light breaks the darkness of our loss," Papa replied. "Love does the same. Someday your memories of Pero and all the things that remind you of him will make you smile," Doña Toña told Benito. That will never happen, Benito thought. When Papa and Benito returned home, Mama sang out, "Perhaps this will make you smile. Abuela sent you a gift." "It's a dog albrije." Benito mumbled and his eyes got teary. If Pero were here, he'd growl at it. Grrr. This right here is a representation of the soul dogs that take people to the afterlife. Benito helped Mama set up the altar while Mama hummed a mariachi tune. "Mama, who's in this photo?" "That's your great-grandfather," replied Mama. "Tata taught me how to bake pan de muertos." "Aren't you sad he's gone?" asked Benito. "As long as I remember him, mijo, he will never be gone. A bit of them lives on in each of us." "I want to remember Pero too," thought Benito. "I'll make an altar for him." As Benito set up the ofrenda, Pero's ball fell to the floor. He took a deep breath and picked it up. Pero wouldn't want to see me sad. After dinner, Mama, Papa, and Benito gathered to share stories about their loved ones on the altar. "Like you, Benito, Abuela loved his dog, Muñeca. Like Mama, Tata made the best pan de muertos," said Papa. "He taught me everything I know about baking," Mama added. "And like you, Papa, Pero snored like a choo-choo train," Benito giggled. As Benito held Pero's ball and looked at the albrije and marigolds on the ofrenda, peace came over him. "I can still feel Pero. He'll always be with me." May we all take time to remember those in our life who are still with us, even though not physically with us. May it be so.
Have you all ever wondered, why do we do the strange things that we do at Halloween and All Souls and All Saints' Day? Why do we dress up? Why do we wear strange noses and hats? The trick-or-treating, decorating houses with skeletons, spooky spider webs. This has to go because can I tell you how uncomfortable it is? Whew. And carving those pumpkins. Why do we do it? We remember our beloved family who've died, telling stories and putting out pictures of them. And where did these traditions come from? And did they ever have a real purpose or meaning beyond just the pure fun that we get from it today? Well, as we've heard before last year, for example, during our Time for All Ages, we know that a lot of what we do at Halloween traces back to Celtic mythology and pagan rituals of the celebration of Samhain, spelled S-A-M-H-A-I-N. So I always said Samhain, but it's Samhain. And Samhain in Gaelic is a word that refers to the end of summer. It's a time when summer's drawing to a close and winter is emerging. And there was a belief that this was the time when death took hold and took over. So on the night of October 31st, there was the belief that the veil, the separation between the living and the dead was at its thinnest. And on this night, there was the possibility that evil spirits, maybe some fairies, perhaps some goblins and evil ghosts, could slip through to our side and cause us pain and trouble. So what they did in order to prevent this evil from entering their world was they created rituals around preventing it. They would gather together, and in a ritual manner, they would create a bonfire. They baked special bread, they ate a feast together, and as they were leaving the bonfire, they would have carved turnips, not pumpkins, turnips, and they're hollow, and they would grab an ember of that ritual fire that kept the evil spirits away so that people could carry that communal fire home with them, protecting them on their travel home and protecting their home throughout the night. So that kind of explains why we carve pumpkins, right? They were the ways we could bring that communal fire home with us. I've also read that we carve pumpkins with fearsome faces because, like gargoyles that sit on the top of great cathedrals, these fearsome faces would scare away the evil spirits and keep us safe. But why the nose, the costume? Well, there was belief also that these wee folk, the fairies who would come and cause mischief, if they peeked through the veil and saw some of those folks already here, they'd be a little scared away and they wouldn't come out. So the townsfolk would dress up in ways that were scary to them. They would bring out their fears, they would dress up, and they'd go out and create mischief in their towns. You might imagine that people were like, so we don't have the evil spirits creating mischief, but we've got our friends creating mischief. So they started bribing them, basically. How about a treat if you leave the tricks away from my home? So over time, we just start buying candy. We don't expect people to give us tricks. We just give them the treats automatically. And so we can trace back these rituals that we're doing to that time. So the ancient Celts weren't the only ones who had these kinds of rituals. So many other cultures throughout the world have the same, and I just want to highlight one because it was one I got to experience in Germany. They do this in the spring. Again, the change from winter to spring being believed to be a time of great power, and the belief was that witches would gather on this night, the end of April into the 1st of May. And so the townsfolks on Hexenacht would dress up as witches. Some of the women would parade through the town as witches, and they would sing and they would cackle and they would pull pranks. And the children and the people not dressing up would get their brooms. And in this town that I was at, everyone would stand and sweep those witches out of their houses, down the street, and out of town. They literally cleaned up all of those evil witches and swept them out of their town. And then similarly, they would gather for a bonfire, for food and celebration, and staying together and keeping each other safe on that night. There's a universality of the idea of protecting ourselves from things that we don't understand, things that could possibly cause us harm. But Halloween celebrations aren't the only ways that we mark this time of year, because as we heard in our story, it's also the time that we remember our beloved who've died. It's not just that we fear the unknown and that spirits could come back, but it's also a time that we believe that if the veil is thinner, maybe if we reach out with our hearts, that we can bring our loved ones closer. So the Dia de los Muertos, as we heard, is a time when families gather together at the cemeteries. They bring their food and their celebration. They offer food to their ancestors to bring them into the communal circle. They keep the people alive in their hearts through the retelling of the stories and this ritual. In Christianity, November 1st and 2nd have come to be known as All Saints' Day, the day that we remember the saints, and All Souls are the days that Christians, our Christian siblings, celebrate their family members who have died. So now we have the whys of things, right? Why do we do these things? And I always wonder, is there wisdom? Because I think back, it's too easy to stand here in the 21st century and say, hey, those people were kind of primitive and they thought that ghosts and spirits were going to come. But you know what? Someday, people are going to look back a couple hundred years from now at us and be thinking, they're pretty primitive. But we have wisdom to share and to offer. So I ask, what was the wisdom they were trying to share? And the wisdom that I gather from these rituals is that no matter how far science comes, we will always imagine fears. We will always look into the dark and wonder what could be there that could harm us. And we need our rituals and we need our community to hold us and keep us from feeling insecure. We need these rituals to help keep us feel safe. One of my children used to have night terrors when they were preschool aged. And my husband's in the congregation today, and I'm sure he remembers, we would get out the vacuum cleaner at bedtime, and we would vacuum under his bed to get up all the monsters. Yeah, and then we also would make a special tincture. We would soak herbs in water, and then we would take that water, because everybody knows evil things and monsters do not like basil and sage and oregano and thyme, and we would spray it all over the room. But my child is wise beyond his years, and he said to me once, "My imagination is too good. It's too creative, and I can always create more monsters." So our rituals would never be enough. It could never keep out that evil. But we create the beliefs in the rituals because it does help us to feel safe. We dress up as ghosts and ghouls and scary things to frighten away these unknown realities. We light fires and carry the light with us to chase away the darkness. And today we might not believe in the ghosts or an afterlife, but our imaginations work overtime to come up with new things to fear. So I want to invite us now to dive into some of these practices that we've talked about. We're going to break up for about 20 minutes. You'll have the opportunity to either gather in the vestibule at the back of the sanctuary. We have poems related to Halloween, related to mourning our dead and the deceased. If you'd like to go back there are printed copies of those poems. If you'd like to stay here in the sanctuary and participate in a remembrance rituals, we will be lighting candles and then writing the names of our beloveds who are now departed on leaves that will be hung on the branches of the pot. And this pot is going to stay here throughout the month of November, so if you're not here in the sanctuary today, but you want one of your loved ones remembered here, you can have a chance throughout November, or you can email me at internminister@uuneedham.org, and I can create it for you either today during the service or in the weeks to come. Our third activity is around those pumpkins that we heard about and the carving. And Sarah Elizabeth has set up some really fun activity around carving vegetables in the parish hall. She also has an activity, again, with herbs and their meanings. I'm not quite sure what it is, but knowing Sarah Elizabeth, it's going to be creative and meaningful and fun. So you will have 20 minutes. I will ring the singing bowl when it's time to come back, and I'll give you a 2 minutes warning beforehand. So I invite you now to gather yourself where you would like to practice and think about not only the why, but the whys and wisdom of these rituals. Yes, sorry. I apologize. I forgot to speak to our online people who will have the opportunity to gather and do 2 of the activities. The main camera will remain in this room on the Tree of Remembrance, and we will have a breakout room for the poetry. The online hosts have been given a link to the poem document, so you have the choice, poetry or remembrance. I'm just going to read the names. For those staying in the sanctuary, the Tree of Remembrance, I'd like to share with us from Reverend Kathleen McTeague. It is right to remember the names of those who gave us strength in this choice of living. It is right to name the power of hard lives well lived. We share a history with those lives. We belong to the same motion. They too were strengthened by what had gone before. They too were drawn on by the vision of what might come to be. Those who lived before us, who struggled for justice and suffered injustice before us, have not melted into the dust and have not disappeared. They are with us still. The lives they lived hold us steady. Their words remind us and call us back to ourselves. Their courage and love evoke our own. We, the living, carry them with us. We are their voices, their hands, and their hearts. We take them with us, and with them choose the deeper path of living.
I shut off the sound so that you're muted and so are they.
Okay,
So you can just speak to the group here with
Okay.
your voice.
okay. All right. But did that broadcast during the reading?
Yeah, the web people will hear you,
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
but these people won't be
Okay.
hearing you.
So if I read the names on the leaves, the web people will hear. Thank you so much, Dawn.
Yep.
That's beautiful. I appreciate it.
It's a witchy day.
It's a witchy day. Written your name on a leaf. If you want to come up and say the name of the person with the microphone to share with people on Zoom, you are welcome to. Yeah. Crow. Crow Smith. If you'd like to, it's not going to broadcast in here, but they will hear it online. Speak into the microphone. It sounds like it's not working, but it's broadcasting to people online.
Okay.
Yep.
Anne and Lee, Anne George Clark and Lee Clark. Virginia and Albert George. Beanie and Ray Graves.
I'm going to give the parish hall people another second to rejoin us, but if they don't come, I think I'll get going. They're busy, they're having fun. So welcome back to our sanctuary. And I hope that these practices that with these practices, you were able to lean into the wisdom of this season of Halloween. Our benediction as we prepare to leave this space on All Hallows Eve: may you take your greatest fears and carve them into a pumpkin or dress up as a ghost, a goblin, a ghoul, a witch, a zombie, or whatever your greatest fear is, and brazenly parade through the streets calling out, trick or treat. That in examining these fears, they will be swept away by the brooms of our imagination and lose their power to hurt us. And in this season of remembrance, as the veil between the living and the dead grows thinner, may you gather your loved ones' memory close, knowing that in remembering them, we keep them alive in our hearts. So light candles, prepare their favorite foods, tell your favorite stories of them, and bask in the memory of their presence. May it be so.
Thank you all so much for participating in this beautiful, multi-generational interactive service today. It can't happen without all of us. After the postlude, we look forward to saying hello to all of you here in the building and on Zoom, and for those of you who can come to the parish hall, to sharing some fall treats. The activities that were in there are probably still going to be set up too if you need to make an herbal blend for yourself. We always extinguish our chalice with words promising to carry its flame in our hearts until we are together again, no matter how long it is until we are all together again. Please join me from home or here in the building in saying those words written by Unitarian Universalist minister Reverend Elizabeth Selly Jones. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, nor the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.